Hey, this is Ashley Harwood with Over Extroverts. And if you really want to learn how to level up your life, you should be listening to the Time to Shine Today podcast with my good friend, Scott Ferguson.
Time to Shine Today podcast, Varsity Squad. It is Scott Ferguson, and we're at episode 194 with my fierce advocate for introvert entrepreneurs, Ashley Harwood from Over Extroverts. Very unique take on helping people level up. If you're kind of somebody that is not like me, boisterous and outspoken and full of energy, and you're really just kind of like hide things inside, which there's nothing wrong with that because I have an agent in the office next to me that sells 30 million a year, and she's a fantastic introvert, but she's even looking forward to listening to this podcast because the knowledge nuggets that Ashley drops is going to help you level up your game, whether you're an introvert or an extrovert. So without further ado, here is my really good friend, Ashley Harwood with Over Extroverts. Let's level up. Time to Shine Today podcast, Varsity Squad. It is Scott Ferguson, and I've got an awesome sauce homegirl from the state of Michigan, or like we call them Mitten. You know, a lot of people can talk smack about Michigan, but we're allowed to, but nobody else can, you know, because it's kind of like our little brother. We both are from the Mitten. We both moved to sunshiny states. She's out on the left coast, and I'm in South Florida. And I'm just so stoked because this is going to be really unique. It's the Over Extrovert expert, Ashley Harwood. She's the founder and CEO of Over Extroverts, a training company dedicated to empowering introverted entrepreneurs through her own experience as an introverted realtor. And as people out there know, 23 years, I've been an agent, so I'm super stoked to hear this. Ashley learned that what worked for others didn't always work for her. Thus, Over Extroverts was born. She's the founder of the Quiet Success Retreat, Quiet Success Workshop, Quiet Success programs. These programs shorten the learning curve for other entrepreneurs and help them do business in a way that does not burn them out. And Ashley, thank you so much for coming on. Please introduce yourself to the Time to Shine Today Varsity Squad. But first, what's your favorite color and why?
My favorite color is blue. And thank you for having me.
Sure.
And why is my favorite color blue? I don't know. I just always loved it.
You kind of migrated to where there's that big blue Pacific Ocean. That could help a little bit as well.
It was my hair too.
Yeah. And it's in your color wheel. It's awesome. You can wear it. Wear the style. She's a beautiful redhead. My girl from the Mitten here. So let's get the origins. Let's go back to where you started feeling that you recognized that you were an extrovert. Okay. And understood that and used that to level up your business.
Sure. So after a couple of years as a full-time realtor, I was very frustrated trying to cold call and door knock and do all the things that we're taught to do. And I saw them working for my colleagues in the office, and they weren't having the same results for me. So I figured out some other things that would work for me. And actually, it was seeing a therapist who helped me realize I was an introvert. She recommended the book Quiet by Susan Cain. And after I read that, I was like, holy crap, this explains my entire life.
What was the thing about going and seeing a therapist? Did you just feel like you weren't in tune with the world, in tune with yourself, or what was that actual fork in the road moment that you took it to a therapist?
I was stressed out all the time for no reason.
Okay. Were you feeling like you were doing stuff that was way out of your identity and that was what stressed you out? And then you kind of figured out that you are an introvert, or how did that work?
In hindsight, yes.
Okay.
Didn't know that at the time.
We never do. Right.
Right. I just knew that something was off, and there was no external reason for me to be feeling so stressed out and horrible all the time. And so I went and saw this therapist, and what I realized is I was expending way too much energy every day. And essentially I was burning myself out every single day.
Right. Not just mentally, but physically all across the whole board, right? To where it's almost like I don't want to use the term because it's thrown around, almost like a depression in a sense, right? Like where you're just not feeling like getting out of bed and doing anything. Okay.
I was doing too much. I was doing all the things that I thought I had to do to make this real estate business work.
Right. And why real estate? What made you throw your hat in the ring out on the West Coast in real estate?
So I was in real estate in Boston. I spent 9 years in Boston. That's where
Oh,
I
wow.
built a career. I moved there from Michigan,
Mhm.
and I had I'd always thought about real estate. Even as a little kid, I would sit there and watch the show that would play listings one after another. It was super old school in the
Oh,
90s.
remember that? I do remember it.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, I loved it. I would sit there and wait for it to restart at the highest priced one because I wanted to see the big houses.
Oh, I love it. I love it. So what then kind of was, I'm going to use fork in the road moment again to really parlay your learning experience to embracing an extrovert and succeeding as being an introvert and succeeding as being an introvert to help others do the same.
So that was a very clear fork in the road. I
Mhm.
built my business as a solo agent to a place where I was doing as many transactions as I wanted. I didn't want to do more than that. And I was working with my business coach, and we basically decided I needed to either start building a team and take the business to the next level. And I
Mm.
decided I did not want to do that. I didn't want to be in charge of hiring and managing other agents.
Babysitting, right?
Yeah,
All
didn't
right.
want to be. And or the other alternative was do something that was real estate adjacent but
Mm.
filled a need. And
Right.
immediately, as I'm talking this through with my coach, what comes to mind is I need to work with the introverts because no one is doing this.
Love
And if
it.
someone like me, when I first got my start, I think I would have been a lot more successful, a lot more quickly.
Gotcha. So you had to go to a therapist to kind of figure out that you were an introvert. So how do you get business from people if you had to go to a therapist to figure it out? Like, how do people come to you and understand that they're introverts and that they can still level up?
That is an interesting challenge for me as a business owner now. It really comes through, some people are self aware enough to know that they're introverts. And there's a lot more discussion about introverts now than there was, say, 5 years ago, 6 years ago. But what happens is I spend a lot of time on my own messaging for this business to make sure that I'm speaking the language of introverts and telling my own story. And then when people start to hear that, it resonates. And sometimes they're surprised. I used to teach classes, I taught classes in real estate offices all over New England in 2019. And part of the class was a quiz. And every time I gave the quiz, if there were 20, 30 students in the room, all agents, usually there was at least one who was surprised to find out they were an introvert.
Wow. And that
Yeah,
quiz, did you write the quiz or did you
I
get
wrote
help
the
writing? Okay. So you're able to find the people that are introverted that need to level up as an introvert then through the quiz. Wow, that's fantastic. So when someone does come into your business and you're in the discovery process, now do you coach people one on one, or is it mostly group, or what's your story there?
So I do work with people one on one. I just started that this year. I'm really excited about it.
Nice. Okay. So when they're coming in the discovery process, what is some of that secret sauce, if you don't mind sharing, to maybe help them find their blind spot to help them push through and level up?
Sure. So usually people come to me when they've tried a few other things and they haven't found success, or they've tried other things and they've burned out and they know they need to find something. Mostly it's around lead gen. They need to find something for lead gen that they actually enjoy that's sustainable. So, what I help them do that's different than all the other coaching programs out there is I help them sort of back into a lead gen strategy through a couple different filters. We filter through your lifestyle. What are you doing anyway? What do you enjoy doing? What's your budget for lead gen? If you have any budget, some of this stuff is free. And then how much time do you want to spend on it? And how much energy do you want to spend on it? So we
Right.
go through all of this and spend the first session with people is usually, 3 to 4 hours, really just going really deep and hashing all this out. And that way they
Wow.
can plan.
So you go really deep with them, and because to really figure out what's going to work for not only their energy but their budget. And I'm glad that you mentioned that because a lot of people want to do stuff, but sometimes their budget doesn't allow them. So you have to kind of pull them through. That's fantastic that you have options. So when you're bringing somebody in as possibly a client or still in the discovery period, actually, is there any good question that you wish they would ask you but never do?
It's a good question.
It's time to shine today, baby. This is why we roll.
I guess I would wish that they would ask me more about the options and how we can tailor it. I feel like a lot of times people just assume that it's going to be one style of coaching. And I don't even love that word coaching. I think of myself more of as a consultant because
Okay.
a lot of coaching connotates just asking a lot of questions and trying to pull out the answer of people.
Right.
And with some of that, but if someone asks me a question and I can give them a real answer based on my experience or the experiences of my colleagues or other clients, I'm just going to tell them the answer. I'm never going to say, well, I've gotten this so many times from other coaches I've worked with.
Right.
Something, they'll be like, well, if you knew what the answer would be, what would it be? I don't. That's why I asked you the question. That's why I'm paying you.
I love it with the tailoring to be able to tailor it to their needs. I'm happy, very happy that you said that. So if I'm out at a networking event or virtually, and here in South Florida, we can press some flesh and network safely here because we're in day 9,825 of quarantine, kind of. But no, we can press some flesh and we can Zoom it. If I'm talking to somebody, Ashley, what am I listening for? That might make them a good prospect, referral, or connection to send to you?
Thank you for asking. That's a great question. So usually clients for me are, 1 to 3 or 4 years in the business, sometimes more, but usually they're real estate agents who are struggling. They've maybe had some sales, but it's not consistent. They don't love their lead gen. They just haven't found that thing that works, and they're getting burnt out way too often.
Got it. And let me ask you, do you only work with people that are introverts, or will you work with everybody to help them level up their business in real estate?
I'll work with anybody. However, my specialty is introverts.
Gotcha. And pulling that out of them. Got it. I mean, there's 2 agents in our office that do 50 million a year and they're total introverts. And it's a lot of fun to really kind of pull stuff out of them too. They're in the office next to mine. So I get it. And I told them about you, that I'm interviewing you. They're like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to watch that interview. So that's just awesome. So you posted something on Instagram. And one thing I gotta ask you about, because I 100% agree with all the other protecting your energy, but canceling a commitment, what did you mean by that? Because some people will see it and be like, dude, if you have a commitment, because I canceled on you or rescheduled on you because I was legitly sick.
Yeah.
But like, what did you mean by that? It's okay to cancel a commitment.
I meant that truly that it is okay to cancel a commitment, because when someone's energy level is too low, it's like being sick.
Right.
Like,
Oh yeah.
They're not going to be able to bring their best self to that commitment.
Right.
And so it's better to either cancel or reschedule.
Love it.
Versus bringing half of a person to a meeting or whatever.
Very cool. That's what I was hoping you were going to say. Some people I would ask might be like real snarky about, well, it's just okay. But you backed it up with facts. You know what I'm saying? And that's cool, because I did that too, where I'm not bringing my A game. And I'll do it as well. I'm not calling you out on writing it, because I wanted to hear how you explained it, because if I'm not feeling, I will reschedule something, a heartbeat. So no, thank you for saying that. So Ashley, you familiar with the Back to the Future movies?
Yes.
Okay. So let's get in our DeLorean with Marty McFly. Let's go back to the 20-year-old Ashley. What kind of knowledge nuggets, that's what we call them here at Time to Shine today, what kind of knowledge nuggets are you dropping on that Ashley to maybe help her blast through, level up, and shorten her learning curve?
Geez, 20-year-old Ashley. Oh, she knew nothing, but she thought she knew everything.
Of course
she thought she was a genius. I probably would have majored in something other than English.
Okay.
Like economics, or done a Gary Keller and got my real estate degree. But yeah, I would have started investing sooner in property. I would have started a business sooner and not wasted a couple of years in retail, although I learned a lot from
You
that.
do learn a lot in retail. I trust me. I know. I love it. I love it. No, that's all. You think she would have listened to you?
Probably not.
Yeah, mine either. I always say that 22-year-old Scott would never listen to freaking anything. So that little dash, how do you want your dash remembered? That little line in between your incarnation date and your expiration date. How do you want Ashley's dash remembered?
It's very simple. I want that dash remembered as someone who made a difference in other people's lives in a positive way. And what that looks like right now is working with the introverts of the entrepreneur world. Doesn't have to.
I love you're so convicted to the niche of introverts. That's awesome, because a lot of people would just use it as a platform to just go launch a huge program. You actually seek them out, and they're starting to seek you out. And I love that you're sticking to your guns on that. Because I coach. I only have 5 high-end executive clients, and I will refer out people that don't fit how I coach. You know what I'm saying? So, and that's like with you, I know I have a referral now for somebody that is an introvert. And speaking of that, do you coach people outside the real estate industry, or are you just in the real estate industry?
In terms of one-on-one work, I pretty much stick to real estate because that's what I do, and I can coach to it in integrity. I do run a membership that's open to all industries.
Gotcha. So, Ashley, what keeps you up at night?
I've gotten better about this, but I do worry about what people think of me.
Mm-hmm.
I know that's a waste of time to worry about, but I still struggle with that.
So when you say you're hurdling that, what are you doing to do that? That's a tough one.
It is a tough one. And I still am I still have my own coaches, and I'm in communities that fill me up so I can go to my people and fill them up. So when I feel like that, I go back to my places where I have people who can
support system. I love it that you're not afraid to get your asking gear. That's when my friend Leah Woodford, who I need to introduce you to, by the way, says, so get your asking gear, like get around the people that you can ask for help or ask for recommendations. And I love that you do that. You're not just sitting there and not doing it. So who's had the most profound impact on your career?
Probably.
Or your life. Sorry, Ashley.
My life, my whole life. Oh my goodness. Well, that's a different question than my career. I was going to say Peter Pacetto has the biggest impact. He was my business coach when I made the transition and started Move Over Extroverts. My entire life, though, I would say, probably my parents.
Love it. Love it. Got to go back to the roots, baby. Yeah. Love that. I love it. So how about some bad advice? Any bad advice you've been given?
Ooh. I would say I've given myself some bad advice.
Love it. Love it.
Because when I first started the business in 2018, everyone kind of assumed that I would be doing one-on-one coaching.
Uh-huh.
And I fought against that for a year and a half. And just now this year, am I coming back to it after building out all these other programs and doing these other things. And so I've given myself the bad advice that if I'm going to be a coach, it has to look this one certain way, which is not true. I can look however I want.
I love it. I love it. You're staying true to yourself. Yeah. Yes. That's fantastic. Yeah. And a lot of times our minds can trick us into things. And again, you start reaching to that identity, and that identity starts pulling you in different directions. I'm loving that you're staying in control of that. So Ashley, what is your definition of a life well lived?
Making an impact in lots of different ways, and having the freedom and flexibility to live however I want, spend my days doing what I want. And right now that looks like spending more time on the beach, and I'm going hiking today.
Yay!
Enjoying all the few things that are still open in Southern California.
things will start opening up. It looks like that. I don't want to go that route, but I mean, Florida, I live on my paddleboard every morning. That's some kind of my jam. I live on the inlet and it's just nice. And I understand getting out in that nature and being able to have what you just said, the freedom and flexibility to do what you like. That is the definition of life well lived while impacting others in a positive way. That's fantastic. Hey, and we're back with my good friend from the Mitten and now on the left coast, Ashley Harwood. And Ashley, we're going to have our leveling up lightning round as we wind this interview down a little bit. There's 5 or 6 questions. You and I could talk 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes, an hour on each one of the questions, but you got 5 seconds with no explanations. You ready to level up?
I think so, yeah.
Let's do this. Ashley, what is the best leveling up advice you've ever received?
Listen to your gut.
God. Share one of your personal habits that contributes to your success.
Sleeping a lot.
Yeah, get your rest. That's awesome. Fair enough. Other than your website, moveoverextroverts.com and timetoshinetoday.com, my shameless plug, what's another website that you like to go to level up?
Ooh, a website? Can it be another podcast?
Sure.
I love listening to How I Built This by NPR.
Oh, great podcast. So if I'm in my doldrums, I'm just not feeling it, and you notice that, you're like, Fergie, here's a book, read it. What's the book?
I'm always going to recommend Quiet by Susan.
I knew you were going to say that. I even wrote that down in my notes. Ashley, what's your most commonly used emoji when you text?
Probably the one where you're like laughing and crying.
Which, sideways or upways?
Both. I use them both.
All right. Very cool. Very cool. So now don't bullshit me on this one, okay? What age physically would you stay for the rest of your life if you could keep the knowledge you've garnered and continue to gather knowledge? Physically, what age would you stay for the rest of your life?
Probably late 20s.
Late 20s. I always say 20 to 32. So, I mean, I'm almost 50, so I would take those physical years in a heartbeat. Thank you for being honest with that. What's your favorite charity and organization like to give your time or money to?
There's a charity that I was actually on the board of for a while back in Massachusetts, and they work with adults with mental illness.
Oh, good for you. Thank you for saying that. That's fantastic. And last question, you can elaborate just a little bit on this one, but what's the best decade of music? 60s, 70s, 80s, or 90s?
I would say late 90s, early 2000s.
All right.
I was growing up.
There you go. Very cool. Very cool. Ashley, how can we find you?
My website is the best place to find me.
And say that website for us with energy.
It is moveoverextroverts.com.
Love it. I love it. And Ashley, leave us kindly with one last knowledge nugget you want us to take with us, internalize, and take action on.
Okay, so here it is. Think of your energy like a battery, like a phone battery that needs recharging. You have to take the time and plug it into the wall. Otherwise, it's going to get down to 0 and it's going to die. And it's going to take that much longer to charge back up.
I love that. I love that. And squad, you got a free masterclass with my good friend, my introvert, who does things I feel for intention and not for attention. And she's the epitome of that. You know, she sought out help with a therapist. Well, that's huge kudos. You know, and she's learned to speak the language of the introvert. So if you're feeling like you're introvert, you have something that's deep inside, you want to get out, but you're not like me and boisterous and just crazy. Ashley's the person that I would love to introduce you to. And if you're starting to work with a coach, make sure you ask them about options that would tailor to your needs. It's not her needs. She's a consultant. She's not going to tell you exactly how to do it, but she's going to pull it out of there so you can get there on your own. But you got to be okay with asking her. If you're going through a business in real estate right now where you're in 1, 3, 4 years or so, you're doing some business, but you're struggling, you feel burnt out. Again, let me make that introduction to Ashley. You know, and if you're doing something in life, make sure you find the passion that serves you. That's what Ashley really said, that she admitted that she didn't really do when she was younger, but she grew into it. She wished she would have invested earlier and found that passion a little earlier, but that's okay. She's there now. You know, she's going to be remembered as someone that made a positive difference in a way that has really helped people level up across all boards. and like I just said, make impacts in a lot of different ways. And she loves the freedom and flexibility to do what you want. And if you want to do what you want, make sure you reach out to me. I'd love to make a warm introduction to my good friend, Ashley Harwood, who levels up her health, levels up her wealth. She's so bold. She lives with intention, not for attention. And I'm so blessed that you're here, Ashley. Thank you so much for coming on. And we look forward to collaborating with you in the future.
Thank you so much. This was great.
Yay. I'll talk soon, love. Bye.
Hey, thanks so much for listening to this episode of Time to Shine Today podcast, proudly brought to you by Sutter & Nugent Real Estate Excellence, who can be reached at 561-249-7266 and online at www.sutterandnugent.com. If you are a business owner or professional who would like to be interviewed on Time to Shine Today, please visit timetoshinetoday.com/guest. If you like this episode, please subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you get your podcasts. There's a link in the show notes to our website. Also there, you will see our recommended resources. We hope that you will support our show by supporting them. If you like what you've been listening to, it'd be great if you could just give us a 5-star rating and tell your friends how to subscribe while you're at it. I'm your host, Scott Ferguson, and until next time, let's level up. It's our time to shine.